Lyndon B. Johnson was a complex figure who transformed America through visionary domestic policy while becoming entangled in a controversial foreign war. This program is brought to you by the Series of Thoughts team as part of the American History series. Chapter 1 covers his journey from the Texas Hill Country to the national stage. The poor Texas boy would reshape American society and become one of the most consequential presidents in U.S. history. Born in 1908 near Stonewall, Texas, Johnson grew up in a financially struggling but politically active family. These early experiences of poverty instilled a lifelong commitment to helping the poor, a mission that defined his presidency. Johnson attended college and briefly taught impoverished students, profoundly shaping his views on inequality. He entered politics as a congressional aide in 1931, quickly mastering federal bureaucracy and the art of political deal-making. In 1934, Lyndon married Lady Bird Johnson, forming a perfect political partnership. Lady Bird was a shrewd advisor, successful businesswoman, and passionate environmentalist who complemented Johnson's ambition. Johnson's relentless energy and personal charisma helped him rise quickly as a formidable campaigner across Texas. Chapter 2 explores the Senate power broker. Johnson's mastery of legislative politics reached its zenith in the Senate, where he became one of the most effective leaders in American history. Elected in 1948, Johnson's rise led to him becoming minority leader in 1953 and majority leader in 1955. He perfected the intense physical style of persuasion known as the Johnson treatment to build winning coalitions on crucial legislation. Key Senate achievements included shepherding the Civil Rights Act of 1957, the first civil rights legislation since Reconstruction. His pragmatic approach and bipartisan coalition building set the stage for his future legislative triumphs. Few leaders have dominated Congress as completely as Johnson did during his tenure as Senate Majority Leader. Chapter 3, Ascending to the Presidency, covers his path from vice president to being thrust into the Oval Office under the most tragic circumstances imaginable. Kennedy selected Johnson as his running mate in 1960 to balance the ticket. Johnson chafed in the vice presidency until November 22, 1963, when Kennedy's assassination immediately elevated him as the 36th president. In the days following the assassination, Johnson's swift action and steady leadership helped unite a grieving nation, guiding America through anguish and uncertainty while maintaining governmental continuity. In 1964, Johnson won the presidency in his own right with a landslide 61% of the popular vote. He interpreted this overwhelming victory as a mandate to pursue his ambitious domestic agenda. Chapter 4 introduces the Great Society, an unprecedented explosion of federal activism aimed at eliminating poverty and racial injustice in America. The war on poverty included Head Start, food stamps, and Job Corps. These programs successfully helped reduce the poverty rate from 22% in 1963 to 12% by 1969, lifting millions of Americans out of destitution. Established in 1965, Medicare and Medicaid fundamentally transformed healthcare access. These programs provided coverage to millions of elderly and poor Americans and remain pillars of the U.S. social welfare system today. Civil rights breakthroughs included the Civil Rights Act of 1964, the Voting Rights Act of 1965, and the Fair Housing Act of 1968. The Voting Rights Act was an achievement Johnson considered his greatest accomplishment. The Immigration Reform Act of 1965 ended the discriminatory national origins quota system, prioritizing family reunification and skilled workers. This legislation radically reshaped U.S. immigration patterns and increased diversity. Environmental and education initiatives included the Water Quality and Clean Air Acts. He also expanded federal aid to schools and created the National Endowment for the Arts and Humanities. From classrooms to hospitals to voting booths, Johnson's Great Society programs touched every corner of American life. Chapter 5 delves into the Vietnam War, the conflict that consumed Johnson's presidency and overshadowed his remarkable domestic achievements. Believing withdrawal would embolden communism, Johnson dramatically escalated U.S. involvement using the broad powers granted by the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution. The deepening quagmire sparked massive protests and deeply divided America. The war's staggering human and financial costs were immense, with 58,000 American lives lost. The conflict drained resources from Great Society programs and shattered Johnson's popularity. The 1968 Tet Offensive shocked Americans and demonstrated the war's futility. Facing fierce opposition, Johnson announced, "I shall not seek, and I will not accept, the nomination of my party for another term as your president." Massive protests and civil unrest surrounding the Vietnam War revealed the deep fractures in American society. Chapter 6 assesses Johnson's complex legacy and enduring impact, a president who achieved greatness and tragedy in equal measure. Johnson was an unmatched master legislator, passing more major legislation than any president since Franklin D. Roosevelt. His programs continued to shape American society decades later. The Great Society sparked a conservative backlash and political realignment. Law and order politics began to influence criminal justice policy, and debates continue today over the success and limits of his reforms. Johnson's presidency offers lessons for today: the need for bold vision, the importance of building coalitions, and the reminder that foreign entanglements can consume presidencies and derail domestic progress. The Johnson treatment, his intensely persuasive style, was legendary. He famously said, "If you're in politics and you can't tell when you walk into a room who's for you and who's against you, then you're in the wrong line of work." Johnson returned to his Texas ranch in 1969, physically and emotionally exhausted. He died in 1973, just 2 days before a Vietnam peace agreement was announced, remembered as a complex, visionary reformer and flawed wartime leader. The LBJ Presidential Library in Austin, Texas, stands as a monument to his enduring influence on American life and politics. Chapter 7 explores the enduring influence of Lyndon B. Johnson, examining how his presidency continues to shape American politics, policy, and society more than half a century later. Programs like Medicare and Head Start prove the durability of his vision. The Civil Rights Acts remain foundational, and the shadow of Vietnam continues to inform foreign policy debates.